Don't forget that the Demon Slayer Corps is always fighting you demons in the dead of night, where you have the advantage! We're not like you at all! And when we lose a limb, it's not for good! He fought to the very end, so no one would die! Rengoku!
Every series seems to have their own group of characters who outclass their protagonists at the start of their series. The captains from Bleach, the special grade sorcerers, Jujutsu Kaisen, or in Demon Slayer, the Hashira. With the recent hype of Infinity Castle, I thought it would be good timing to rank the Hashira based on what we've seen them do so far in the anime. Just to make this perfectly clear, this will not take into account Infinity Castle. This list will be comparing the Hashira to each other, not all of Demon Slayer. That should be it, so let's go! The bottom tier consists of mostly featless Hashira who more so have lore to back them up. To become a Hashira, you must kill 50 demons while training under a current Hashira or defeat any of the 12 Kizuki in a one-on-one match. The flower Hashira, Kanae, has no scaling in the anime or manga up until this point. As such, she would only have the two requirements for Hashira as her scaling. With the massive disparity in the 12 Kizuki's power and not knowing any of her abilities or techniques, we can only put her at the bottom. The insect Hashira, Shinobu, uses wisteria poisons to eviscerate demons without decapitation or sunlight. And we saw when it comes to hand-to-hand skill she could fight Tomioka and Mount Natagumo, with neither using breathing styles. The problem is that she uses poison to overcome her limited physical strength, stating while fighting a member of the spider family that she's too weak to decapitate demons, implying she can't even decapitate some random fodder demon. While her poison might make her a Hashira level threat to demons, against these opponents she just can't compete. The previous water Hashira, Urokodaki, has since retired and trains the next generation of demon slayers, training Tanjiro to prodigious heights with an incompatible breathing style, as well as Tomioka and Sabito, who Tomioka considered to be even stronger than him at the points they were both alive at. Water breathing is considered a heavily defensive style, but Tanjiro has shown its offensive merits. The reason Urokodaki is above Shinobu is due to Tanjiro's statement that if he were to only use water breathing, he could never reach Tomioka's level. When considering Urokodaki is also a master of water breathing, you could rationalize that any of Tanjiro's feats up until that statement done purely with water breathing could be replicated by Urokodaki, meaning the former lower Kizuki Kyogai, as well as moments against the lower one Enmu, could be in Uro's pay grade, but this is being very generous. The previous Flame Hashira, Shinjuro, was a master of flame breathing, who was considered a veteran Hashira during Rengoku Gaiden, a 2-chapter canon spin-offs manga that tells the story of Rengoku's journey to being a Hashira. In it, we know he could defeat the same lower 2 Hyro that Rengoku fought, and the Kizuki even questioned if Rengoku was the same person when he had him on the back foot, implying Shinjuro closer to his prime could easily defeat this Hyro, whereas Rengoku needed 9th form Rengoku to win. Considering Rengoku would have gotten stronger from here, we can't scale Shinjuro to Mugen Train Rengoku, but being able to easily defeat a lower Kizuki and having the Hashira's respect when it comes to combat abilities is better than the former lower Kizuki. The Thunder Hashira, Jigoro, should be a master of thunder breathing and, somewhat similarly to Urokodaki scaling to Tanjiro's pure water breathing, might scale to the Zenitsu we see in the series. While this is entirely implied, it would push him to having remarkable speed inside of Demon Slayer, as Tanjiro stated his use of Thunderclap and Flash in Swordsmith Village was actually slower than Zenitsu. But considering this is entirely based off the assumption he's stronger than current Zenitsu, I don't want to put him much higher. The next tier consists of the majority of Hashira, and is for Hashira who displayed relativity to the upper Kizuki, fighting losing battles or winning with extreme difficulty. The Sound Hashira, Tengen, managed to do the hard lifting in a battle with upper Kizuki Daki and Gyutaro, clearing the way for Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke to decapitate them. While he was insanely relative to Gyutaro in their fight, this isn't quite as good as most people would make it out to be for a few reasons. The biggest being a direct statement from Muzan, who can watch everything his spawn do, that if Daki weren't holding Gyutaro back, he would have killed every one of their group. The second being that Tengen received help from his group, with Tanjiro and his wife saving him at multiple points in their battles. The third being that, while not easy to gauge the difference, Daki and Gyutaro are still the lowest upper Kizuki, meaning it isn't likely as good as fighting on par with 3 or 4. He does have his sound breathing, which seems to give him good detection abilities, and his poison resistance means even if you were to think Wisteria poison affects normal humans, which it doesn't, he'd still body Shinobu. For what it's worth, he also directly admits he's lower than the likes of Rengoku, Muichiro, and Gyomei. The water Hashira, Tomioka, was shown capable of bodying the lower 5 Rui, and was stated Tanjiro could never surpass him with pure water breathing, meaning he would outperform any of Tanjiro's water breathing feats. On top of this, we see in Hashira training he does directly tie with Sanemi, but given Sanemi has ranged attacks, I see Sanemi doing better against more people than him. The wind Hashira Sanemi struggled to brawl with an injured Tanjiro in Hashira training. Still, if we assume his mastery of wind breathing would bring him to Tanjiro's max output, he could defeat the upper 4 Hantengu's weaker emotions but would ultimately fail to handle Zohakuten and Urame at the same time. He would likely just be a better Tanjiro as, presumably, his breathing wouldn't be as strenuous as a Demon Slayer mark and Sun breathing combined, giving him better stamina and range. The Serpent Hashira Obanai similarly just scales to Tanjiro in Hashira training. However, unlike Sanemi, he does seem to have an ability for manipulating the shape of his sword, which would make it harder for someone like Sanemi or Tomioka to get past. Another statement that reinforces his and Sanemi's position above Tengen would be Obanai looking down on Tengen for struggling so much against Daki and Gyutaro, saying it's hardly impressive to defeat upper 6. Well, we can't assume he's the top of the verse based on that. It was kind of just more of him being like a dickhead. It backs up him comparing to upper 4 and Tanjiro instead of upper 6 and Tengen. The Love Hashira Mitsuri did better than Tanjiro, who had awakened a Demon Slayer mark and was using Nezuko's Blood Burst sword. Nezuko and Genya against Hantengu's Zohakuten in Swordsmith Village, showing her insane natural strength and flexible sword style. She also awakened a Demon Slayer mark, which if you believe Tanjiro in this panel, might be 100 times buff, but considering she couldn't defeat upper 4, it either means it isn't that much of a jump in power, or she was only temporarily that strong with the mark, which would make her only this level with the timer, unlike the others. Either way, I value her fighting upper 4 how she did more than everyone else scaling up from base Tanjiro. The Flame Hashira Rengoku is one of my favorite characters in Demon Slayer. I'll come out and say that this is definitely the highest highball possible, but essentially he was initially equal to upper Kizuki 3, Akaza, before losing the Battle of Stamina. Even with a hole in his chest, he really said,
"Job's not finished."
Trapped Akaza's arm inside his stomach, caught his punch with his bare hand, and still almost managed to decapitate Akaza. While he never wins that battle since Akaza could escape his grab, the other Demon Slayers don't have that ability, or infinite stamina either, meaning Ninth Form Rengoku is likely just too strong for them to handle, and we already saw he could handle ranged attacks, meaning Sanemi and Mitsuri aren't instant Ls for him. The Mist Hashira Muichiro was stunted due to his repressed memories, which seemed to dull his abilities and fighting spirit. Once he remembered his origin, he awakened his Demon Slayer mark, which shifted his fight against upper Kizuki Gyoko from a losing battle to one in which he won decisively. All of this on top of being nerfed from Gyoko's poison and having to protect those damn swordsmen who wouldn't run away. If you wanted to argue Rengoku being upper 3 level is just strictly better than upper 5, I wouldn't blame you, but the difference is that Muichiro actually does win, which I value more, on top of Muichiro's obscuring clouds actually giving him an ability that isn't just a big or ranged attack. The top tier consists of the only Hashira to ever do anything to Muzan. The Stone Hashira, Gyomei, is something of a gentle giant, being a kind soul with a tremendous power. His physical power is exceptional in Demon Slayer, able to beat a demon to death for an entire night with no breathing techniques. The Master saw fit that despite never having any bodyguards, Gyomei should be the one to stay at the mansion in case his instinct about Muzan was correct. On top of this, both Tanjiro's nose and Inosuke's instincts regard Gyomei as the strongest Demon Slayer they have ever met, with Gyomei's potential respected by Tengen. On top of this, he was able to decapitate Muzan, who even if nerfed, is Muzan. The same Muzan who is so strong none of the 12 Kizuki dare to revolt, who could push Akaza more than Rengoku with his glare alone, and who only seems to have ever been beaten by Yorichi, an almost divine figure within Demon Slayer. If you disagree, comment below with your own ranking. If you have your own video on the topic, tell me so I can react to it on stream. If you want me to revisit this topic including the Hashira and Demons of Infinity Castle, like the video to show me that.